is actually happening now.
Yeah.
We're still in the process of actually trying to pick a jury. I'm not sure how many jurors we have picked up to this point. As far as I know, only 2 of them have been disallowed. We have now gone through, I think it's 12 jurors, groups of 4, and then 4, and then 4, and we have just finished the last 4, which was 12. Yesterday, that there was a group of 40 as a group, so they have changed their way of operation, and now 4 are brought in at a time. The questions are asked by the state and ourselves and the judge. It has become rather human, much more so than it was at the start. That we had met with the judge and the DA, and the judge had drawn up about, I think, 22 or 3 questions. We had received 15 minutes to try to prepare questions, and that was not a very long time. But then the judge then came in with the DA and had scratched out approximately 22 questions, and so that we're kind of going through these. Now, these are very set questions, and not being able to really elicit their own feelings and opinions. So those things, I mean, it's rather a yes or no. Let's say, if you have heard that we oppose nuclear weapons, yes. And then the DA would often ask, can you still be open-minded about judging them actually guilty or not guilty? Oh, yes. Well, that doesn't really say anything. We found out that one of the men there felt that the dropping of the bomb, that he was in the Army at the time, that the dropping of the bomb was good then, and judges now that it was good and just at Hiroshima. And so naturally, anyone who would want to destroy that, or who actually would destroy any of these nuclear bombs would be guilty, period. So there isn't in my judgment, that this particular man has prejudice that we are guilty of.
I think you said yesterday that there was a good possibility that there might be a mistrial.
Well, see, there was an actual mistrial because of the fact that the 40 jurors were brought in, and at the start that the DA asked, have any of you heard, or have any of you already opinions, I forget how it was worded, but actually stressing the fact that they had made up their minds in regard to the GE action, and 2/3 of the hands went up, and everybody, that the DA and the judge, they finally lowered their hands, and so that the DA says, have you made up your minds and would not be altered? And 10 people stood up, and their minds were made up, And so we wanted that these people to be removed from the from the jury selection, And that the judge became rather disturbed, and then mentioned the fact that, we then huddled with him at the sidebar and said, as right now, with your reaction to the fact that these 10 people have said that they sway, that they have their minds made up, and yet you refuse to remove them. Plus your outburst, that the judge's outburst was, Mr. Hammer, I don't want any more of these outbursts. And actually, Dean Hammer had just stood up and said, well, we think that these 10 people ought to be removed, and he just off the ceiling, And so that then after we had spent about, I'd say 15 minutes at the sidebar, that he then dismissed the whole panel, 40 jurors. And that was basically a mistrial, because that part of it, if you understand what I'm saying, kind of mistrial.
So you don't think that's going to affect the rest of the trial?
It's very hard to say.
Maybe we could get more right into the crux of the issue in terms of the action you took at GE, and maybe you could tell us what that action was and why you took it.
We admit the fact that we, thank God, have destroyed 2 nuclear reentry vehicle nose cones. The first act of disarmament in the last 35 years. They have had 6,000 meetings, disarmament meetings, and this is the first nuclear bomb or nuclear vehicle that has been destroyed. Up to this time, there has never been any. Okay. Now you're asking what we had done. We had planned, and again, it was, in my judgment, the Holy Spirit, because our knowledge of what we knew that this plant made the Mark 12A nuclear reentry vehicles. And almost that was about almost it. And had met and prayed together 3, 4, 5 days, and had kind of plans, hopefully, that we would go in and maybe find a nuclear reentry vehicle and maybe be able to hammer it. And as happened, such did happen. I felt spirit happening, because we had gone in and said we are here for non-violent action, peace witness, and that the other 5, 6, 7 had gone in, and I was out there talking with the guard, and then after he had he was on the phone calling, so I then started walking in, and he followed, and I knelt down and said, "Brother, don't worry. We're here as a peace witness to be celebrating peace in a nonviolent way." And so that they had then found these nose cones, nuclear reentry nose cones, which actually each one of them.
You're saying that the guards actually let you in?
He was reading the paper as we walked in. See, this nun, Sister Ann Montgomery, and myself, and Molly walked in, and Sister Ann said, "I'm Sister Ann Montgomery," and this is like, "Oh, hi there, I'm Father Carl Kabat. We're here," and at that time, the other 5 went on through, and the guy was kind of looking, hey, and I said, "That's all right, we're here for a peaceful," and they were in. Those 6 went in, and Ann and I were there. So then he started walking towards the door, which the door was about that length away, and then came back and was on the phone calling. And at that time, Ann went in. So I was there, and I said, "Well, that's all right, brother. We're here as nonviolent, peaceful witness, and whatever, as a liturgy, celebration of peace." So then he was calling, so I then started walking in, and then after he had called, he followed me. So it was just really that he was reading the paper as we came up, and see, we had it timed that it was just at about, I think that the doors opened at 6:45. Well, we were there at about 6:40, about 6:50. And the doors were open. We weren't even sure of that the doors may have been press button doors that would have opened, And he was reading the paper, and I think he had also spent the night shift from 12 to 8, and kind of groggy, So I think that it was just unexpected, and that we had then walked in, and they did find the nose cones beautifully, and anyway, so that they had then gone in, and I say that kind of blind. They had found an open door with a thing. They looked around.